Welcome to the Hard Money Show, where we talk about real estate, home loans, and media. It is a good day when you can get owner, broker, operator Freddie Ortega from Realty One Group Strong on the line with some free time. If you're a realtor or you're a consumer and you don't know this, it is not easy to get in front of your broker. They are busy people, man. So thank you so much for being on today.
No, thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, why don't we just dive in? I know you got a lot of things that you got brewing. You know, what kind of gravitated you to getting into the real estate market?
Well, real estate started off. I've been in sales since I was 18 years old. Started in the jewelry business when I was 18, and moved on to. I transitioned into selling cars, and I did that for about 7 years with a local company here in town. And just the next step to me was real estate. You know, I wanted to get into real estate. I saw these guys in 2006, 2007. They were, doing great in real estate from what I saw. But seeing things isn't always what it's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the market just shifted when I got my real estate license. It was 2008. I came in excited. I came in thinking I'm going to rule the world and make all kinds of money. And I came in and the market just crashed. And that to me was, when people talk about now, oh, the market is this, going through that market, that's what opened my eyes to see. That's why this market doesn't scare me. It doesn't worry me, because I know that market, what we went through, that was, come on, you had where people, appraisers were going unchecked. People were appraising homes pretty much whatever they wanted. Lenders were approving people that didn't qualify with stated income. They had all these unchecked regular stuff that they weren't, they didn't have these right guidelines that they have now. Now you have people that actually qualify for a home. You gotta give everything from your blood work to pretty much qualify for a home.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. And when I came in, but I was 24 years old, came in 2008, market crash. First thing a realtor told me is, what are you doing coming into real estate right now? And I say, you know what? I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn from the bottom, and we're going to go from here. And I came in, and I just, little by little, you've just been seeing we're doing better. We're doing better every year, 2009, 2010, 11. And, things have changed. Now we're in this is a whole different market now. And there's always going to be changes, but it's just how you adapt to these changes. Right. And something that I love, I'm passionate about. I love working with people, and something my dad, I was raised by a single parent, lost my mom when I was very young, raised by a single dad. He raised a 2 and a 4-year-old by himself, worked for a union, 43 years at a winery. Wow. Hardest working man I ever, to this day, I lost my dad a few years ago, and he was my inspiration, my motivation, my teacher. He was everything to me. And he was a leader. My dad was a leader. And since I was a small kid, he used to always tell me, one day you're going to be a leader. And this is something that stuck with me. And, I carry my dad's ring with me. This is his ring, gives me the strength to just keep pushing forward. He never quit. And so I said, and after losing, when I lost my dad suddenly in 2013, I was already in the real estate game for a while now. And he always tell me, one day you could be a broker and open up your own brokerage. And well, I did. It took me a couple years, 2-3 years, finally passed my brokerage exam and became a real estate broker and started my company, named it after the streets I grew up on. I grew up on streets called Stratton Davis. So on Davis Avenue, I grew up, and my dad grew up on a street called Stratton. So I put together, and Stratton Davis, started that company in 2015. Within 5 years, grew it to almost 200 real estate agents and 2 locations. And that's when, I started that company thinking, you know what? I didn't have anything. I had one desk. I had no carpet in my office. I didn't really have anything, but I had the passion, the love, and I wanted to provide something to realtors, everything that I felt that I was lacking, which is the support, being there for realtors, and not charging them, so much money. The days of charging these big percentages to realtors, you don't need to go into an office and listen to your voicemails anymore. You can do it from home. All these realtors, they work out and about. They work in their cars. They work on their phone, so you don't necessarily need an office. but we still wanted to provide that atmosphere and have where they can come in, have a cup of coffee, meet their clients, and that's who Stratton, but we'll be there for them and help them and train them and support them. And that's when I started paying attention. After years going on, I started paying attention to this franchise called Realty One. Now, I never heard of them, but they were just growing everywhere else except Bakersfield. And Realty One, what they are, I believe, the future of real estate, because realtors, they still need a brokerage. You got to work for a broker. You need a brokerage. You need to have that still a brick and mortar where you can point and say, that's my office, but they don't want to pay the franchise fees anymore. But they still need the resources of a franchise. Like, you got these big companies like the Colwells and the Remaxes. It's hard to compete with a little mom and pop like Stratton Davis. But when I said, wait a minute, why do realtors, it's a national association. They did a survey. Every 3 to 4 years, real estate agents will move offices. This was, maybe sometimes you'll notice, one realtor's at a Keller Williams, then he goes to a Remax, then he goes to this other.
Yeah, broker shopping.
Broker shopping. They jump around. Well, I saw that even in my own company. I figured, wait a minute, I'm giving them everything, and I charge them a reasonable flat rate. Why do they still leave? And it's human nature. We want change. We constantly look for change. Well, I couldn't give them too much changes because I was just a local mom and pop, didn't have the resources that you have coming from a big franchise like a Coldwell, a Remax. But they don't want to pay those franchise fees anymore. So why was Realty One continuing breaking records and growing? Because they can offer everything of a franchise, all the resources, but a flat rate with no franchise fees, the modern feel. Now we wear jackets we don't have to wear ties. It's more of a more relaxed feel, but they got that culture. It's different. It's a beautiful, and it's so caring. The founder of Realty One, his name is Cuba, such an amazing guy, very positive, and that's what I wanted to align myself with. But they weren't in Bakersfield, and when they came knocking, I already knew all about them, and I said, you guys are what's in the middle. There's the franchises, there's the mom and pops that don't charge that much, the franchise. You guys are realty. You guys are what is needed and what is the future of real estate. And this is why I decided 2 years ago, when they gave me the opportunity, they said, we would love to be in Bakersfield. And I told them about, I'm a huge fan of Bakersfield. I love my city. This is my home. This is where my heart is. And this city is really going a whole nother direction. People are looking at us like they never looked at us before. People are moving like crazy. I'm getting people from Los Angeles, from up north. And I told the founders of Realty One, I told Cuba, I said, one day we're going to be your number one franchise out of Bakersfield. And 2 years ago, I signed the franchise for Realty One, had to tell 200 realtors, hey, we're changing names. I didn't happiest of realtors. And but I knew that we needed these resources. We needed this tech. Everything's technology now, and it takes millions of dollars to come up with this stuff with technology. And as a small office, even with 200 agents, there was no way I was going to be able to give my realtors what they needed. And now I feel we're not going to be left behind. I feel Realty One, they're thinking of stuff while you and I are having this conversation. They're thinking of the next stuff coming out, and I'm going to be able to give this to our realtors, and in turn, they'll be able to give these resources to their clients. We have international exposure now. I got messages coming in from Canada, from you name it, from Italy. We are connected on social media with Realty Ones, and the referrals that now. You got other states from Miami they're calling me, hey, Freddie, I have a relative that's buying in Bakersfield. You have a great realtor we can give this to. So it's just an international connection they just gave us. So that's why, but I signed this franchise January 1st of 2020 is when I signed. Bam, thinking excited. Then 2 months later, 3 months later, everybody go home, shut us down.
Well, let's jump back a little bit, right? I don't know if you've seen Wolf of Wall Street. I think a lot of people have. It's a very popular
Yes.
movie, but it's so funny, you know, just the parallels. Not that I'm saying you're a crazy party or anything like that, but you know, he got into the market, got into, you know, that field right when it crashed. His business was Stratton Oakmont, so it's just funny. I was just like playing this in my head, and
Right.
I'm like, man, I got a real movie star in front of me right now, man. He's living the real life.
You know, it's something where you know, I've seen that movie I don't know how many times, and I said, you know what, I love the passion he had, but I don't agree with the way he did it, you know.
Yeah,
But
right.
salesman in that, what he portrays, a salesman is, you know, I am a salesman. That's who I am. I am a salesman. That's what, you know, I love being a salesman. You know, we provide a service that, you know, I tell my realtors, you are your product. You are what you're selling. Anybody can sell any home. Anybody can do it. It's what the services you're going to provide. Are you going to be there for your clients? Are you going to answer their phones? Are you going to give them honesty? You're going to be honest with them. You're going to show them. You're going to care. They're not just another client. They become a friend. They become, you know, and that's who we are. And we're going to separate. But the salesman, and of course in that movie, you know, I admire the passion he has. It's just the way they did it. You know, the stocks is a whole nother beast, something else. And real estate, you know, the thing about, you know, being in the car business, when I was in the car business, now that's a rough one right there. Working in the car business, that's another passion. I love the car business, but it's a whole nother beast. And there you're dealing with, you know, people's, you know, finances, payments, you're quoting them, all that stuff. And in real estate, the reason I love this is because you don't deal with any of that. The financing part, they go see a lender. Lender tells you, hey, Freddie, they're good to go for $350,000.
Right.
Then I the house. I have nothing to do with their payments. I have nothing to do with, you know, we help write up the contract, but their financing goes with a whole nother person. You know, sorry about that. Lost you there.
No, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah. And that goes through whole nother, there's a lot of hands in the pot, but the good thing is, you know, our scope of work is we deal with the client, and we just help them find their home. We help them find the right home for them, and just to be there for them and give them all the, you know, any questions, service, just really be that phone call that they can reach out to, that peace of mind that, hey, what's going on in my transaction, and stuff like that. Sorry, let me turn this off here.
No, absolutely. It's all right.
Okay.
So I want to dive into that more, but before we do, I kind of want to talk about this parallel, right? There's this idea, I think, that sits in people's heads of no matter what industry of sales that you're in, and that was my background as well for a very long time, is that when you're in sales, you're kind of cringy. You know, you don't treat people fairly. You kind of do what's best for you. And I think the old adage is always the car salesman, right? And so I think it's a unique perspective for you, having been a car salesman and gone into real estate. Have you experienced that sort of parallel between the two industries, or do you think that that's just not fair?
You know, well, I'm gonna tell you this right now. The reason I have that passion still for the car business, because it taught me everything. Also, it taught me how to be a salesman. It taught me how not to be a salesman. You know, don't be that cheesy car salesman. You know, because in the car business, you're the one quoting the, you know, the managers. You know, I call them, you know, the bosses. They tell you, okay, this is their payment. You have to go tell them this is what it's going to be. And you know they can't afford it, but you can't tell the guy, hey, you can't afford this. You guys need to go home and, you know, don't make an emotional decision right now. But you can't do that because you'll get fired. So you got to present, you know, the client comes in wanting a Cadillac Escalade. They come in wanting something that they originally came in looking for a Tahoe, but they saw the Cadillac Escalade on the showroom. Then now they want to get quoted for that when they told you their budget was only a certain amount.
Right.
And now putting them out on a budget payment that's 3 times as much as they came in with their budget. And what do? You can't tell them, hey, unfortunately, you know, I think you guys can't afford this. You need to go home. No, they'll make these decisions on, you know, we're emotional creatures, and they'll make this decision on the whim. And 2 days later, you got them coming back, and the wife is with him. And next thing you know, they're like, hey, you know, we can't afford this car. We want you to take it back. And there's no taking back. You know, I mean, now I know there's some cooling off period. There's different things going on with different dealerships. But when I was selling cars from 2001 till 2008, 2007. It was a grind. It was there was a lot of people that purchased cars that couldn't afford it, and they were hurting after, and they would come back and give you the stories. And trust me, I feel like I'm still getting my soul back from that. I came in, as a young kid, 19, 18 years old, you just go in thinking, oh, I want to make money and just sell, sell, sell. But now being in real estate, and I'm glad that I came in 2008, because I saw also everything what not to do in real estate, who not to be like, and I've seen those movies of when these realtors were just making money, hand over fist and money, because they were just, you could be a gardener and qualify for 500,000, stated income. Oh, you make this much? Okay, that's all I need. The documentation, people were forged. It was just so bad. And that's all the stories that I heard that I saw. I never got to see it because I came in when everything just hit rock bottom. So, but I heard all the stories of how it was. And I said, well, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out why this market crashed. You had inflated, people were buying homes and then turning around 4 months later, refinancing, pulling money out. How could you even allow that to happen? And people want to blame the local lenders and local realtors, but these programs don't come from us. They come from government. They come from we have mathematicians in our country. We have these great mathematicians, economists, and yet they're the ones that said, yeah, go ahead and put out this stated loan income, this adjustable mortgage that you need no documentation and everything's going to be fine. So of course these lenders and realtors were just doing their job. They were putting out these these programs that, hey, you don't need to document their income. Okay, they got a 700 credit score. Yeah, they qualify for $1 million home. And what did you expect was going to happen? So I see it. I'm not giving anybody any. There's some real bad people out there that did a lot of bad things, but I'm just kind of looking at it from the outside of the opportunity was there. People jumped on it, and then we got bit at the end. And now we're in a different situation now, which I'll tap into. I don't know. I don't want to kind of get ahead of it here, but.
Yeah, you dangle gold in front of these people, right? I'm a licensed realtor and I'm a licensed LO, and I run our media division with our brokerage. And so a lot of what I did when I first got into the industry, what was really interesting to me was what happened during that time period and how has that affected our market. And now I love education. I love learning about the history of stuff. And you're right. These programs don't just come out of nowhere. And not to say that, people shouldn't be ethically and morally responsible for what they're doing. But ultimately, right, you're telling somebody, hey, you're going to make $400,000 a year. All you got to do is do this thing. And it's the easiest thing possible for your client. They're going to get what they want. You're going to get what you want. So you put temptation in front of people, that's going to be a very hard thing to justify. And I think, as a moral person, we all want to say, I wouldn't do that, right? I'm an ethical person. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't put someone in a bad loan or whatever. But, I think it could be really difficult when you have that dangled in front of you. And,
I've said that to people, if I would have got into real estate in 2005, 2006, I would have been 22, 23 years old. I could have easily been influenced. I could have, if everybody else is doing, when the client wants a certain loan they wanted, who was I to say, I could have easily been, told, as a young kid. And so I don't know what direction, morally, I always want to do the best and be an honest person, and honesty gets you, I'm in it it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I know, but, so I can't judge and say, oh, okay. But I always look and say, well, who gave us those programs? Who put it out there? And because I know we didn't create them, and but it just didn't make sense. And so this is why now, now I look at, there's so much opportunity now, because I feel, yes, I know we have our ups and downs with real estate and this and the pandemic, but hey, we just went through something that hasn't happened in 100 years. So I think we get a little break, we should have a little break,
right.
And this was something that hasn't happened in 100 years. It's history. It's history resonates, and you go back, and every pandemic has had their after a pandemic, there's inflation because it's supply and demand. And if you don't have the workers to tend to the factories and tend to our supply is going to dwindle. And what happens on the other side of the pond is going to affect us here. So if their factories are shutting down, then our supply chain, I mean, we get it, so it's just common sense. What happened, I feel that little by little, we're going to be catching up with our supply and the demand, is just, but I just see a tremendous amount of opportunity now. It's there for the taking. And for those that see it and see within, they can read between the lines, are going to really take advantage. I have some investors, some friends of mine that they tell me, Freddie, I've made the most money during downturns.
Right.
And there's always, you got to look at that silver lining, and that's it for now. So that's just kind of a little bit on that, but I don't know, want to get ahead of you also.
Right. So yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels. Well, I'm interested, right? I don't know, I only have my perspective from working with my broker and what we do, but I'm interested to understand, how close are you paying attention to the mortgage market? How well versed are you on that? Because right now you're starting to see a lot of non-qualified mortgage or non-QM loans starting to pop up on these major lenders across the country. They're trying, they're putting out seminars. They're trying to teach people how to sell these essentially. And a non-QM is, in another word, a subprime loan, which is exactly what was part of the problem in 2008. So I'm wondering, what's your view on that?
Well, I think it was a perfect storm. The recession that we had from 2008. I feel that was a perfect storm. You had unchecked appraisers going off. You had unchecked the loans. There was a lot of variables that it was a perfect storm that caused this. Now I think the loans, if they put there's a lot of investors, a lot of business owners that don't have they have stated incomes, or they have these private that they can do certain loans. But as long as how it is when an appraisal gets ordered, we don't even have any contact. I mean, they get picked at random by these lenders, they get through a system. I'm at least grateful on that end, because that'll keep I think that'll keep some pretty strong guidelines for them, and keep us separate, keep that, keep us away from that. You go have lunch. I've heard stories that you guys were having lunch with these appraisers, and they make sure
yeah,
that you put that in with these subprime loans. I mean, that was a perfect disaster right there waiting to happen. So
yeah, there's a lot of and I've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast, and we haven't gone too deep into the way laws have changed because of what happened during that time. But there's a lot of rules in place now, not only on as a broker who works with loans and for lenders, but also as it pertains to relationships you're allowed to develop between realtors and with appraisers and things like that, that there's certain boundaries that have to be met in order to try to keep everything a little more ethical and above board, which I think ultimately for you as a consumer that's out there listening to this, you should know that at least you're in a position that's a little bit more guided to keep you safe than it has been in the past, which I think ultimately is what we all hope for, right? Keeps the temptation away, and then it keeps them in good hands.
Absolutely, and that's what it is. And unfortunately, we have to, go through things in order for us to change, and maybe not make that same. You get burned once. I'm sure you won't stick your hand in again. But then again, I'm always optimistic, and I just look at, human beings, we're so, we're fighters, man. We will fight, and we'll come back from this. We can never keep us down, because human beings, Americans, and we will come back from this, and we're going to come back stronger. And like I said, I studied a lot about when everything was going on with the whole pandemic. I really looked at history and looked at multiple times this has happened in the past, and it was just so similar on things that were happening. But after they had the roaring 20s, the 20s were booming up until 29. Of course, the crash. But the roaring 20s, they had just ended their war. World War I had just ended. Then their Spanish flu hit. The Spanish flu hit for 2 years, and And I remember I was watching this YouTube, and this man was talking. He must have been 100 or 90. I don't know. He was up there in age, and I hope to one day make it to that age. And he was saying that he remembers being a kid and the Spanish flu when it hit. And it was just sounded so similar to what we were going through. And he said it still took 2 years for people to congregate. He said congregate after the pandemic, for people's fears to really dwindle. It still took 2 years. I don't see us taking as long. I see, because of the social media, because the communication that we have now, it's a lot. We know what's going on a lot quicker than having to get the paper and read about it in the paper. So I just feel our communication is a lot different, and I think people are really going to start coming out, and people are going to start really embracing. Just I walk around now and I see everybody walking around and talking, and March of 2020, it was a whole different story. We didn't know we didn't know what direction this was going to go. They told me to close our business and just go home. To me, that was the recession. To me, not being able to really, you have no control. That now that we're able to do things and get out there, and I mean that's why I just feel so. I guess you could say I'm so optimistic and so positive, because I just feel there's so much opportunity. We just have to get out there. Now we have to work. We have to look for it. So.
Right. So the one thing that I like about what you're saying, and obviously if you guys haven't listened to the podcast before this one, we had Cherie Carell on, who is a new real estate agent with your brokerage. And so it was awesome to get some insight from her about Realty One, what you guys are doing over there at Strong. And the one thing that I am hearing that I like, and granted, I don't know a lot about Realty One, but it sounds like you guys are meshing together ultimately where I think real estate's going to end up, right? Having some sort of brick and mortar available, but really it's that flexibility, right? Of being able to be out in the community, right? Have your laptop or have your iPad, have your phone, do your business on the run and go, and then still feel like you have a place to congregate. And I think we're talking about how this can be a difficult industry for people, because some people like to work isolated. They work really well by themselves. And then other people, they do need that camaraderie. They do need other people to kind of check them or help them or whatever that is. And it sounds like you guys have a pretty good balance of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we keep our offices small. The franchise wants us to stay under 2,500 square feet. These big, huge buildings. That's my building here in downtown. It's actually it's pretty big, because we have a marketing company here that was already here. We just kind of moved in, so now we're two companies in one. But my other offices are under 2,300 square feet. That's where they want us to stay around. You still have a brick and mortar. You still have a space where agents can go and feel comfortable and meet their clients. But the days of these big, huge brokerages, 5,000 square feet, 10,000, those are things of the past. It's not going to be that way anymore. It's smaller now. Offices are just, because agents can work. The technology has allowed us to transition now to, we can work from home. We can do things on the move. We human beings, we want things faster. We want things to move. And as our technology continues to evolve and get better, we're going to continue to find easier ways to do real estate and to meet with clients, virtual, this, that. I mean, you name it. Meta, what was that new virtual?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Virtual reality.
Virtual reality, where you can maybe tour home. You could tour it from your house and really see if you really like the home, see the kitchen, see this, see that. I want to get into that. This is the stuff that now my graphics team, these guys are, they're just at another level. I don't understand that. I'm a dummy when it comes to that stuff, but I know they do. And this marketing agency, the Prego that we have, that's what they're good at. And I could see the future of real estate going that route, where, advertising will be on these other platforms. So, these virtual platforms, and you can show a property instead of going and physically, hey, I'm going to show you 3-4 homes. How about you just put on these lenses and, take a quick tour of the home inside, see if you like it, the kitchen, the size, everything. And it's just going to be quicker, faster, and let's get the offer submitted. You don't even have to be here in the same city. You can be at another city. So as technology continues to evolve, it's going to get easier for us. We just have to evolve with it. We have to continue to adapt with it. And that's why I'm proud to be part of Realty One, because I feel that they're on the cutting edge. and they're carrying the weight. I don't have to worry about, because like I said, I'm a dummy when it comes to technology, stuff like that. But I know they're not. I'm just the one to kind of link those two together.
Yeah, actually, the one thing I really that stands out to me with Realty One is I'm a marketing guy. That's really what like my biggest passion is, brand development, media development, design. And so I love all of your guys' content that you guys put out, all of your branding, all of your logos, even your guys' web pages, right? It's not just straight block writing and things like that. You guys have very aesthetic stuff that's on there, and that may not seem important to some people, right? Because you're thinking, oh, well, I just want to buy a house or whatever. But ultimately, this sort of stuff matters, right? It's the reason that Coke and Pepsi and all of these major brands across the world spend so much money to figure out exactly what's going to get you to buy into their product. I think you guys are doing an outstanding job on that, and I love to see that. And I totally agree with you with, the direction with virtual reality. My only concern is right now we have realtors that can't even take photos of their houses correctly. So them doing 3D mapping of their property where it's a VR, I'm not sure how fast we're going to make that leap, but I would love to have that available.
And that's why this opportunity came up with this marketing agency, DePrigo. It was available, during the pandemic. It came up, and I said, wait a minute, this is the part that we're missing. Even being part of Realty One. Realty One is amazing when their stuff, but I wanted to add something else to it where I want to bring in these smart kids, these smart graphic designers, and smart guys that know stuff that I don't know, and bring that and connect that, because I see what the future, I see what's coming, and we're not going to go backwards. We're not going to go back to a flip phone. We're going to continue to evolve. Our art stuff is going to get better. It's going to get better. And I want to be on all avenues of that. I want to have it all covered. And with Realty One, like I said, the stuff that they're doing, I mean, it just looks fresh, and the colors, it's everything. And I had a realtor tell me one time a few years ago, he said, it's not the brokerage, that's going to help you get that listing. It's the agent that's going to get that listing. I said, yes, but you know what? Now I see it as also a no, because you also need that other part of it, because clients will Google who you're with. And if you're not a brand name, if you don't have that Colwell, if you don't have that Remax behind your name, and you're trying to get my $1 million listing, and you're only 2 years in the business, I'm going to Google who you're with. I want that peace of mind, knowing that. And if your website is Stratton Davis and it shows, you guys are local, you guys are pretty cool, you guys got your stuff. But if you're not a national brand, international brand, that also gives me that peace of mind. Because when I go buy a product, I want to know this is a brand name. There's that peace of mind. If you make a mistake, I can at least have somebody corporate I can reach out to.
Right.
And people want that. So 90%, yes, it's the realtor. It's who you are. But that other 10%, when you walk out of that home and you wonder to yourself, why did I get that listing? Why did I miss out? Well, maybe because they Googled and maybe they said, hey, we want you in 1997 call. They want your website back, if you're still not up to date, and that's that other part of being a broker owner of an independent company. After a while, even having 200 agents, it starts to eat at you, because you cannot give them everything they're needing. And I was lying to myself thinking, oh, no, they got everything they need. And they didn't. They didn't have it. And now I feel with Realty One, I can provide everything and more. And the quality of agents that we're bringing in now, it's very different. These are workers. We got people that see this as a business, and they're grateful. Their energy is different. The culture is different. That's what, it's just a whole another beast. And then this is why now going into 2023, I feel we're on the front lines. We're not waiting for things to come our way. I feel we're on the front there with everybody else.
Yeah, I think you're right, and then I do have a little bit of a conflict on it. Here's my issue that it brings up. I think that if you're going to be a realtor, if you're going to make this your career, then you need to do everything possible to capture your audience, right? And when you say, it has to do with you being a good salesperson, has to do with you presenting yourself and knowing what you're talking about, being educational. That is 90% of it, right? And then you just never know. Some people like me, I'm an Apple snob. I love Apple, right? And so you just never know. Some people, they might choose because of the company you're with, the branding that you have. Maybe they really like the font you guys use. People are weird. You never know, right?
Well,
My
you're dealing with people's biggest investments,
Mhm.
biggest, the biggest purchases they're ever going to make. And, it all means it all matters. The font, everything, like you said, it's not box letter, just
Right.
everything matters. And I just wanted my agents to have every piece, every
Right.
ammunition they could possibly to have, and not have any reason why they missed out on the sale.
Yeah. My concern is that people who are listening, and you talked about this a little bit earlier, realtors who brokerage hop, you think that moving from one brokerage to another, and because let's say you're at Coldwell and you want to move over to Realty One, that's going to be your saving grace, right?
Right.
Well, maybe you need to take a deeper look inside, right? Maybe you need some more coaching. Maybe this isn't the right industry for you. So I urge you to really consider the idea that, definitely choose the brokerage that makes the most sense for you, especially if somebody like you who's putting out everything you possibly can to make those people successful. But also as a realtor, understand that the 90% comes first, right? You got to learn how to do this job right. You got to be educated. It doesn't matter what brokerage you're going to be at if you're not a hard worker, right?
Yeah, it's a business, and this is your business. And I tell our realtors, this is your business. And like any business, if you own a bakery shop, if you're not there at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, getting that dough ready, getting everything ready, you're not going to have the passion. You're not going to have that blood, sweat, and tears. You got to treat this as a business. And even when I hear realtors say, well, I'm just a part-time realtor, I go, I understand that, but the client does not see you as a part-time realtor. If you do not answer your phones, if you don't get back to them because you have another job, which is fine. We have a lot of realtors that have a second job. They have other jobs. And with the technology, they're allowed. They can be, realtors. And still, I have some very high producing realtors that have a full-time job. But real estate is a full-time job, and the client never sees you as a part-timer. They see you as your full-time, and you have to treat this as a business. You gotta, even if you're not at the office early, but you gotta, as soon as you wake up, you gotta be thinking, okay, this is my business. What am I doing? What am I doing for today? What if you are just kind of twiddling your thumbs and just hoping and maybe a client falls your way? It's not gonna happen. You gotta work for it. You gotta work. You gotta and I mean, 10, 15 years ago, did we have these platforms that now when I have a realtor ask me, are you going to provide me leads? I go, am I going to provide, what do you mean? Like hand you these Zillow leads? Is that what you want? Like these junk leads that maybe some kid got on their mom's internet and they just kind of, they wanted to see a house. I mean, no, there's leads everywhere you go. You're at the grocery store. What do you think? Those people, they live all outside? I mean, everybody has a home they're going back to. They're either renting, they're buying, they're selling. The leads are everywhere. And now with all these platforms, social media, all these marketing videos, I mean, you could do podcasts. I mean, there's so many different ways for you to connect with people, with leads. And if you're still wondering, how am I going to get business? How am I going to do this? Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm sorry, you're probably in the wrong business, because it is there. It's all there for you. It's there for the taking. You just have to work. You have to get up and you have to treat this as your business. And it takes blood, sweat, and tears to build any business.
Absolutely. So clearly passionate about, the industry and what you're doing, or you wouldn't have all the brokerages. So you have 3 brokerages. Is that right?
I have 3 brokerages here in Bakersfield, southwest part of Bakersfield, the northeast part of Bakersfield, and now here in the heart of Bakersfield, our downtown, right on Chester, downtown Bakersfield. And we also have our marketing business here, DePrigo. We have our machinery. We have everything for prints, for embroidery. We do banners, all the stuff here.
And all of that's run under DePrigo.
Well, yeah, the Prego has the marketing stuff, and then we have Realty One in the same building as well. So it's a 2-story building here. It's 10,000 square feet. This building's been here for over 100 years. It's a gorgeous showroom we have. So you walk in, you're going to see Realty One stuff. You're going to see our Realty One store, and then you're going to see the Prego on the screen, and you're going to see the Prego upstairs. You're going to see all our merchandise. We do water bottles, everything stuff there for any kind of promotional items, any trade show items. Anything you need for anything for your business, pins we do for all the nonprofits, a lot of the nonprofits here in town, hospitals, we do, a lot of special causes. It's pretty amazing. And Realty One, and having Realty One here, it's just the icing on top of everything else.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I was just reading up today. Obviously, let's jump into the market a little bit. I saw that you had posted something, essentially people asking you, what's the market look like right now? And you said it's a good time if you're trying to move to Bakersfield, right? And I think that sort of positivity is what everybody's looking for, because it can be a kind of sad day to look at the real estate market for some people. They get really scared with where the interest rates are. I think interest rates are finally a little over 7% right now, which can be really scary for people. But you're positive. You seem it seems like you want people to be in Bakersfield. You think it's a good time for people to buy or sell. I did see that Bakersfield, though, is in the top 15 markets in the country that is dropping pretty rapidly on their pricing. Do you want to tell us, how you're seeing Bakersfield?
And it's something where I hear the same thing, but then I'm not seeing that, because the calls that we're getting, being part of Realty One, really connects us with all these other Realty Ones from Los Angeles, San Francisco, you name it, up north, Stockton, and we're getting calls coming in from those Realty Ones saying, "Hey, I have another referral. They want to move to Bakersfield. I have another one coming in from Bakersfield." One of every 3 buyers that we're seeing coming in, I even make it as a joke, where it was one of my agents closes the deal, and I go, "Let me guess, the buyer was from Los Angeles." They're like, "Yeah." Oh, and I'm like, "Okay, it's what we're seeing." It's I saw this. I don't remember. I read it where Yahoo News. It was something where I read where they did a national survey, the top 3 cities where people are leaving and going to less dense surrounding areas. It was New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, out of the whole country. Well, San Francisco we sit in the middle of San Francisco and Los Angeles. So, we're getting that flow of people that were ready to leave the cities, but they just needed that extra push. And I think the pandemic caused that extra kick and said, "Okay, this is it. We're getting out of here. We're tired of these little 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, $800,000, $1 million home, where we can actually put my family in an actual home an hour and 30 minutes from Los Angeles, put them in an actual home with the yard. God forbid another pandemic hits. At least I have my family in a nice castle. I have them in a nice home, good size home. And I can still work from home. And I can still work and maybe go visit the office once a week in Los Angeles or go to." So when I saw that, I said, yeah, human beings in nature, we migrate, we move. And anytime there's any world event, any natural disaster, any pandemic throughout history, human beings, we move, we migrate, we go to colder, we go to warmer weather, we go to safer areas. And I just feel there's a huge migration right now. People are leaving California, but then we're getting a lot of people that are coming in to California also. And there's people that are coming back to California because, I've seen I've been to a lot of other states. And the one thing where I'm at here, we don't deal with humidity. We don't deal with snow. We don't deal with overheat where we get hot for a little bit. But after that, again, I'll take 100 degrees dry heat, 100 degrees with humidity. I'll tell you that day of the week. I've seen that humidity in Texas or in Tennessee, and oh my goodness, that's a whole another beast. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Sacramento, that's where we're based out of, right? I think the new numbers that are coming out is we've seen equity drops between about 32% to 47%, and especially in luxury markets. I'm wondering, what's it look like out there, especially if you're looking to sell a property out there. I was just having a conversation last night with somebody, and I was telling him, if you're looking to sell your property, I think that you really should try to get it offloaded in the next 6 months, because I'm guessing, just based off where we're at, that we're going to see property value go back to pre-pandemic numbers in the next 6 months. So if you want to get that equity that you built during, the boom, I think you need to get your house offloaded relatively quickly.
Right. I agree. There's going to be, I don't feel us, going to where the people are telling me, well, I'm going to wait till the houses really go down. And I just don't see that for this city. I'm not saying other cities, but I just feel Bakersfield, our city, was really undervalued for a long time. And, and now I believe our county here just got approved. It's about 15 minutes away from us. They're going to be building the Hard Rock Casino. And they just approved also 15,000 homes to be built. And once you build the Hard Rock Casino, they usually followed by other casinos. And that's 15 miles away from us. And that's in our county. Our current county had to approve that in order for them to be. So they just announced that. And we just got a lot of new, I'm watching restaurants pop up here, construction, the bridges. I mean, it looks like Bakersfield is on a move. And anywhere you go in this city, you go to the northeast, southwest, northwest part of town, they're building. And you didn't see that in 2008. You saw building completely stop. And so when I tell myself, wait a minute, are we in a recession? Yes, I get it, but it's not your normal recession. There's still jobs, there's still stuff going on. And then I go back to maybe my high school economic class when I should have paid more attention, but he said supply and demand. That's it. You hold up our supply, the demand is going to be higher, which causes inflation. I mean, it just seems like it doesn't really seem that difficult to understand. I don't need a Harvard economics degree to really understand that, hey, it's pretty simple concept, and little by little, I think we're going to climb out of this. I don't feel the prices are really going to drop as much. I feel that maybe they're just going to level out and kind of a little bit, but I think that whole FOMO thing is going to jump into effect here for Bakersfield, because you get a lot of our locals that are, it's high right now, interest rates. But I mean, our medium still price rate, I think is 380 or 400,000, which to somebody coming out from up north or down south, Los Angeles, that's a steal. Mm-hmm. That's a steal still. And I mean, you got Amazon building here. I mean, we just closed the transaction where the buyers on it was Tesla. So something's going on here. We're getting a big wave of a lot of this, there's a brain squeeze of people coming there from other places, and they're coming here. The tech, they're seeing that's still affordable. They don't have to pay. They can still pay employees a reasonable rate where they can still afford a home. So I just see now I just telling somebody earlier today that what Bakersfield was going to grow in 15 years, I think this whole pandemic caused it. It's going to grow within the next 3 or 5 years what it would have done in 15 years, because it just really got people to look our way. And I mean, call me an optimist or, but that's the way I feel, but I'm also seeing it because this is what I hear. Now, one day goes by where I don't have a conversation with somebody that just moved here or is transferring. Here's another realtor like Cherie that's moving from Los Angeles to Bakersfield. And so yeah.
Yeah, I think, Bakersfield might be the next place to look for, right? Last year, Sacramento was the number one place to move to, right? I mean, it was a nationally ranked, and I think the same kind of thing that you're saying, where people are moving out of the city, they're trying to find a place that they can commute from or live relatively close to. And now Sacramento had, because of articles that are coming out like that, because of the perception, everything went up so high in value, and now we're seeing these kind of larger drops, and that's to be expected, right? But as Sacramento starts to get priced out for people, it's like, well, where are they going to move? And I think we're going to start seeing more inland movement like that. And Bakersfield might very well be, nationally ranked next year as one of the top places to be, because from what I've heard, it's a pretty nice place. It's still family communities out there. You guys got, you got your backyard, you got your front yard, and, there's not as much crime. And so all of that stuff, I think is starting to become more valuable to you, especially like you said, during the pandemic, where people were auditing their lives and auditing what it means to provide for your family and give them a life that you're not stuck in the house doing nothing. Yeah, it sounds like you nailed it on the head. So I want to jump a little bit out of real estate. I'd like to talk about you a little bit, because I think it's a unique opportunity to have, an entrepreneur like yourself, has multiple brokerages, has a marketing company and things like that. What's it like to not, I know that, obviously we talk about real estate, but what's it like just to be in that sort of sphere, to develop a business, to have that sort of weight on your shoulders, to have these employees, and to be running things and hoping that they're going to continue to grow?
Well, it all brings me back to the way I was raised. Seeing my dad work as hard as he did, and that's what really gets me up in the mornings and says, I love what I do. I love talking to people. I love the community. I just love, right now I really make it an effort to meet everybody that walks in our doors to come and pick up product for Deprigo. If they're, we had, I think, Faith in the Valley just came in to pick up a whole box of shirts that we had done for them. And it's a beautiful thing to shake their hand and tell them thank you for doing business with us. And, and I go back and I look at the pictures of when I first started my company, and naming it Stratton Davis, it sounded kind of like, why would you put that name? And it meant something to me. That's why I grew up on Davis Avenue, and everything meant something. Everything here has meaning to it. Everything here, from the Wi-Fi passwords to everything, has to do with my family, where I came from. People know my dad's name, Louis, and my dad is something, he's embedded here in these businesses, and that's what gives me the drive. When I'm here, I think of my parents, my mom and dad. I feel closer to them when I am in my companies, because I started it with their fire, with having that sadness, and I used it in a positive way. I used it as a flame to burn and to get me out of bed and get me going, and get in front of people. And I don't want to make a speech, or I don't want to talk, I don't want to do this. But you know what? I bring back the memory of having to get up and talk at my dad's viewing, and having to talk in front of all those people. But I told myself, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to talk, and I'm going to tell people how great of a man he was. And I'm going to, and I'm not going to cry. I'm going to let it out, and I'm going to let them know. And so all those things, all those memories, and seeing my nephew, he has special needs, and that's something that means everything to me. And seeing everything he's been through, that's why I named the company Realty One Group Strong. They said, what do you want to be? You want to be Realty One Group? And I said strong, because my nephew always says he's strong, and he's strong. So everything has purpose to me. And if you're going to start any business, it's got to be more than just, okay, I want to do it just to get rich and get out. No. You gotta have a purpose. You gotta have more to it, because that's what's gonna drive you. And when you're gonna have those bad days, you're gonna have those bad months. You're gonna have why did I do this? I should have just been a mailman. It looks like an easy job, But you gotta have more to it than just chasing the money, and that's what I'm proud of now, being with, also connecting with Deprigo, and having all these great companies that they're a part of and who they work for. I mean, every day I see something special. It's some nonprofit that we're making shirts for, or a teen challenge, or something with kids, or something going on. And everybody that walks in our building, they say, wow, this is gorgeous. And I tell them, if you're one of our customers, you want to use this as your Christmas party, this building, it's free of charge. Just give us a date, and you're more than welcome. You guys are part of and those are the things that I want to continue to do. And I'm proud that now I feel really connected, and I really want to make something, and in memory of my parents, and just continue to do something in that way. That's what makes me happy. It's doing that. I'm making my dad proud. And he used to always tell me when I was a kid, be something special, be something great, so people can say I did a great job. And those are his words that are constantly with me in my mind. And because I saw how hard it was for him to raise two boys on his own, a 2 and a 4-year-old, man, I babysit my niece and nephew for a few hours, and whoo, that's another show, man. That's another show. So I get it. And I just want to tell my dad right now, how grateful I am and thankful I am for what he did. And so that's what drives me. That's as being a business owner, that's my purpose. That's my drive. So.
That's awesome. So, we're getting towards the end of the podcast. I know that you guys kind of got a special sauce going on down there. I know you probably got some key phrases, terms, motivation that you go to for your realtors that are out there, your team. But I'm wondering if there's a realtor out there right now and they're listening to this podcast and they're near the Bakersfield area and they're considering, what brokerage should I go to, or I'm interested in getting in real estate. Do you have any words for them, any motivation, anything, to kind of guide them to your direction?
Well, I would say, I tell realtors just especially if they just got their license, or I have some realtors that kind of, hey, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. They're saying, well, what is that guy doing different that I'm not? How come I can't? I go, look, There's nothing different of what they're. The only difference is they're working. They're going out there. They're getting boots on the ground. They're working. They see this as a business. You have to see it that way. You have to be passionate. But you're just as good as anybody else. Any other realtor that you see, stay away from that. Or, watching these $1 million shows of all this, because you're just as good as they are. They just put it on video, but you can do the same thing. You got it all in front of you. The technology's there. You don't need to, join these big old companies where you needed to then put you in the newspaper, put you in the paper. You can market. As soon as you get your license, every friend and family everybody can know that you're a real estate. You have all these social media platforms. You be who you feel that you are inside. Put it out there. Let people know. People want real. I see what goes trending, all these things that go, and people just want to see real stuff. They want to see human. They want to see who you are, and just be honest with people, work, and just work, see it as a business, and use these platforms to get your message out. Let people know what you're doing, love what you do, show them the homes. When I used to sell cars, we used to open up the car and have the car explode in a way where we just open the doors. You pull out the car, you showcase, turn on the radio, turn on the air conditioning, and you show off that car. It's the same thing in houses. Homes, people are always going to need homes. We're not all going to live in the streets. We're all going to need homes. We're either going to rent them, buy them, sell them. And the homes are there. And as a realtor, you just need to work. Get up every morning. You get up and you have a purpose. You have write down what you're going to do for the day. As long as you're doing something productive when it comes to real estate every day, you're going to be successful. And that's it. You're going to be successful as long as you're doing something to do with real estate every single day. Every hour.
Be your authentic self, and there's no substitute for hard work.
Hard work, and that's it. You put in the work. You'll get it in return.
Absolutely. Well, before we go, I did want to give you the opportunity to put out your social media for anybody that is interested in following you guys.
Yes, absolutely. We're at Realty One Group Strong. Again, at Realty One Group Strong, or you can follow us at Deprigo. And that's DEPRIGO. Deprigo stands for Design Print Go. And my name is Freddie Ortega. You can read Freddie Broker 17 is on Instagram. Freddie Broker 17. I'm on there. So yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you for having me on. And it's been, this is actually very comforting for me as well, kind of letting this out, and you keep it inside, but I constantly, anytime anybody asks, I always tell them my story. I want people to know where I came from and what I'm doing and why I'm passionate about this. And people just see the nice stuff. They never see all the hard work that goes into it. But when I say blood, sweat, and tears, there's been all that was all there. So.
Well, we appreciate you being on. I really do understand how busy brokers' schedules get. It's a big deal, guys. So thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate being able to learn about Realty One. And as always, guys, this is the Hard Money Show, where we talk about real estate, home loans, and media. You guys have a great day.
Hey, you too. Thank you.